Yeah. Now, Richard James, we've spoken many times before about Lew Grade and how generous he was as a supporter of APF and Century 21. Famously, one time when Dad was feeling a bit uncertain as to whether Lew would be interested in his latest idea, Lew grabbed Dad by the scruff of the neck. I think it was by his shirt collar, maybe.
Yeah, you think. He's not a cat.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
Anyway, grabbed him by the shirt collar, pointed up at the ceiling and said, Gerry, if you wanted to make a series about that light bulb, I'd back you.
Yeah, and I'd novelise it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Richard James would novelise it. Anyway, that probably explains the Secret Service. Surely regretted the light bulb comment. No, we love the Secret Service in its own way.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was, however, one series idea that Lew was not prepared to back.
Right.
Dad wanted to make a big American-style police series and get one of the biggest names of the time to star as the main character. Now, we don't know who it was specifically, if he had anyone in particular in mind, but although considering how generous Lew was with his checkbook, Dad probably could have offered it to pretty much anyone he wanted.
Yes, gosh.
Now, the idea of this series was to produce 52 episodes of the biggest and bestest police show of all time.
Of course it was.
Centred heavily around the star main character. Now, at around episode 26, there would have been a huge shootout in which said main character would have been unexpectedly killed off.
What? You can't do that?
Well, the show would then have brought in a new main character who would have then have to prove himself to the other characters and the audience, who would hopefully be enticed to keep watching just in case the new guy got killed.
Risky strategy, I'd say.
Anything could happen, right?
Yeah,
Literally, anything could happen in the next half hour. Now, Lew was not keen on this idea, thinking that it would be madness to go all out with the trouble of building up a series and then risk it by throwing out the leading man. So, that series did not get the go-ahead. Of course, Dad did keep this basic idea in mind and later found a use for it, Richard, as you know, in 1967 for a series in which the title character was killed off in his very first episode. That series, of course...
That's Captain Scarlet.
Captain Scarlet, yes.
Aha.
Now, going back to the Unmade Police series and the idea of killing off the leading man, maybe it wouldn't have worked. Maybe it would have done. Who knows? Perhaps viewers at the time really were ready for it. Or maybe they weren't. Or, they might have embraced it and absolutely loved it. Times have changed, obviously, and in the past 20 years there have been plenty of crime dramas and sci-fi shows and so on that have promoted a particular actor as being the lead cast and then unexpectedly killed them off. Either in the first episode or early in the first series. Shot them, blown them up, pushed them into a deep fat fryer, whatever. All those things.
I don't remember that.
No, nor me. In a way, though, it's kind of a shock if there isn't a shock death. So nowadays, an idea like Dad's probably wouldn't have been that unusual, maybe even a bit tame. But for the mid-1960s, it probably would have been quite shocking and quite forward-looking and avant-garde. Whether the audience would have seen it as a good shock or a bad shock, we'll never know. But it does show how far television has evolved since those days and how far ahead of his time Dad was in his thinking.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, that's very interesting because I can foresee problems there. Firstly, are you going to get an actor willing to be killed off halfway through a potentially very successful series?
Well, is there another side to it, which is you don't have to commit to multiple series? You're committing to 26 eps and that's it?
Yeah. But secondly, what actor is going to want to step into someone else's very successful shoes if the first half of the series was a huge success and you take over and it bombs?
Richard James, have you ever heard of a show called Doctor Who?
It does ring a bell. Why, they don't change the leading character every 4 or 5 years, do they?
Unheard of. How would a thing ever work like that? But it's very interesting, isn't it? Because Dad basically invented regeneration before Doctor Who, potentially.
Yes, that's true. Yes, I suppose. So, I've been watching the Star Wars movies recently, and they were struggling to get Harrison Ford back for the Return of the Jedi, the third of his films, because he was only on contract for the first 2, apparently. And so he wanted to be killed in the third film. George Lucas wasn't keen on that at all, because he was thinking of the merchandise and thought, well, who wants to buy a dead character? That's the thing. So there's that as well.
But an adult police show... Probably not big on the merch.
No, that's true. That's true. So, I could. Of course, it would work. Yeah.
Anyway, so are you going to go off and write Gerry Anderson's Lost Police show now?
Absolutely. Well, I think I was in one, wasn't I?
Oh well, of course, yes, because he obviously kept the idea of wanting to do a big budget American police show until Space Precinct, and then just put it in space with some aliens.
That's right.
In it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Although I wonder if actually everything he produced was there in some form as a germ of an idea right from his very early days.
I can tell you, we actually touch on this and have an answer from him in Gerry Anderson Life Uncharted, the documentary which is coming to BritBox on the 14th of April. I feel like I'm on autopilot when I say that, but I am very excited about you all seeing it because it's a very personal thing and you'll get answers like that. So, there you go. Okay. Nice. Fascinating.